it must be.
Okay, here it is. Yes!
240
Perfect.
kayo?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That's super bien. Eso es lo
That's
que tú
good.
querías.
That's
That's what you wanted.
That's exactly what I was looking for.
Oh.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy JT, and in this video I'm going to share with you exactly how I went from a 210 on my first practice Step 2 CK exam to getting a 30 plus on my real exam on game day. So stay tuned. Alright, you guys, if you are new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. My goal on this channel is to help you as medical students navigate the nuances of medical school, as well as United States medical licensing exams and how to study for them. So this is exactly what I wanted to do with you guys today. I have been wanting to make this video for such a long time. So currently, as I'm recording this video, it's about the middle of May 2025, and I took my exam about a month ago, April 18th. And I wanted to make this video specifically because I saw a lot of information out there on YouTube of YouTube creators who are also medical students taking the USMLE Step 2 exam and getting these outrageous numbers like, you know, 270s, 265s. And I remember specifically one gal, she came out of the exam room like crying, and she's like, I thought I failed. I'm like, oh man, like wonder what our score was. And it was like a 270. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's not like encouraging for me, because I'm an average medical student. Like, I'll go ahead and let you guys know right now, yes, I'm capable, I'm smart, but at the same time, medical school is very, very hard. And what I found was throughout these YouTube videos was it really depended a lot on their first diagnostic practice exam for the Step 2 CK. So they would go onto the MBME website, they would take their first practice exam, and they would score already passing, like 230s, 225s, 235s, and stuff like that. And I realized that I didn't see any content out there of people that started with like a 210 for me, in my case, for my example. Or if I would, let's say, I think I saw somebody score like 196. They had like 8 months to bring the score up. So there wasn't a lot of good data out there, or a lot of good videos out tailored specifically to students that start at a pretty low diagnostic exam, only have 5 weeks to prepare, and then do well. So this is exactly what I'm trying to do for you guys today. I'm gonna show you guys how I went from a 210 to scoring 30 plus points on my actual exam on game day. So if you like this content, please stay tuned. So if you're here and you don't know what a Step 2 exam is, it's basically a licensing exam that every practicing medical physician in the United States of America must take in order to become a fully licensed practicing doctor. So basically, there are 3 steps or 3 step exams that you have to take in order to become fully board certified in your state. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. So if you guys haven't seen my Step 1 video, it's in my channel. I'll go ahead and link it down below. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Step 2. So Step 2, as you guys know, it's a lot more clinical based. So I'm gonna break this video up into 2 separate parts: Prededicated and Dedicated, and what I did with that. So let's go ahead and dive into Prededicated. So Prededicated basically means the time that you had before your dedicated period of studying. So most medical schools give about 4 weeks to 8 weeks to study for their USMLE Step 2 exam. My school gave me 6 weeks. It gave me the opportunity to do 8 weeks, but because I wanted my now fiance, I'm engaged now, it's crazy, I wanted to spend 2 weeks with her instead of 1. So I went ahead and said, you know what, I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna be able to study in 6 weeks. So when I say 6 weeks, I know I already said 5 weeks before, I basically mean that my exam was really on the last day of six weeks. But my total study days were 35 days. So basically, if you multiply 7 by 5 for 5 weeks, 7 days, that's 35 days. So I technically had 35 days of study. The reason why is because I took every single Sunday off. That's the Lord's Day. I'm not gonna touch that. I'm gonna go ahead and respect that day. So what exactly did I do during my pre-dedicated period? So pre-dedicated for me was basically my entire third year. So we had core rotations. For me specifically, it was internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, and OBGYN. So with every single one of those core rotations, most of them would last about 6 weeks, but my internal medicine rotation as well as my surgery rotation, they each lasted 12 weeks. That being said, after every single rotation, I would have to take a MBME shelf exam, basically to see if you're competent in that area. Thankfully, I was able to keep up with all the U-World questions. I was able to pass all of my shelf exams. So you have to have a pretty good understanding of your pre-dedicated core rotation study material. So basically, I had a pretty good understanding of general medicine when it comes to my core rotations, because at the end of the day, step 2 exam is all about these core rotations, right? It tests you on surgery, internal medicine, it tests you on pediatrics, OBGYN, all that stuff. So I had a pretty good solid foundation. So yeah, if your school doesn't offer you any type of shelf exams, I would encourage you to go on the MBME website, and for every single rotation that you're on, whether it be neurology, family medicine, internal medicine, whatever it might be, there's an MBME shelf exam for that. Take one exam, 50 questions, it's like $20 in the middle of your rotation, and then take another one at the end of your rotation to see if you have a good understanding. Obviously, do all the U-World questions associated with it as well. I do have one more thing that I want to add though. So AMBOSS is also kind of like U-World, but it's more clinical based. AMBOSS offers something called 200 concepts that will show up on every single USMLE Step 2 exam. I went ahead and did all 200 of those questions and looked at all the explanations and all the answers. So that really helped me go into my dedicated period. So I did the 200 question or the 200 concepts right before I went into my dedicated period. So that was my pre-dedicated period. It's all about doing your core, rotation, shelf exams, as well as doing the 200 AMBOSS questions that show up on every single USMLE Step 2 exams. All right, so let's get to the money. Dedicated period. What exactly do you need to do in order to succeed on the USMLE Step 2 in order to prepare? So it all depends on how long your school gives you, okay? So if you're here and you have like a year to practice for this exam, this video is still for you. If you're here and your school only gives you 5 weeks, 4 weeks study for this exam, this video is really for you. And if you're here for any other period, I mean, this can also be for you. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the diagnostic exam. So what exactly is a diagnostic exam? Diagnostic exam is basically an exam to know, okay, do I need to go this route or do I need to go that route? You usually find these exams on the MBME website, and unfortunately they are a little pricey. They cost about $60 a piece. There are some out there that don't cost money, but I'm not gonna tell you any more about that because I'm sure your school, your little group chats have those videos or have those exams. But for me, I like the format, I like the intensity, I like to be able to not have to worry about wondering where the heck answer explanation is on this random PDF answer sheet. So I went ahead and I went on the MBME website, I purchased MBME 9, 10, and 11, just to start, okay? And MBME 9 was my diagnostic exam. So take a diagnostic exam. Every single person that's going into their dedicated period needs to take a diagnostic exam to see where you are. Once you take your diagnostic exam on timed, you're going to go ahead and get a 3-digit score. This 3-digit score is going to determine if you need to do more content review with more time in general to study for the exam, or if you're able to have a pretty good chance of getting to, depending on what specialty you want to go into, getting into the high 240s, high 250s, etc. All right, so I took a diagnostic exam and I got a 210. Now, I know what you're thinking. Julian, you got a 210. That's not even passing. What's going on? This video is a waste of time. No, this is just me being real. And I promise you, if you just stay with me just for 5 more minutes, I'll let you know what the exam score is in a moment. But I looked at that score and I said, okay, so I can either freak out and beg my school to give me more time and have to move all my rotations around and be in a hot mess, or I can stick to the original plan, continue having my fiance come over for another 2 weeks, and be able to truly cram this exam out in just 35 days. And I prayed about it and I had my faith in God, and God told me, son, I got you. So, and he did. What did I score? So before we go any further, I'm just gonna go ahead and let you guys know, be really transparent. I got a 241 in just 35 days. Now, I wasn't lying on the header. It wasn't clickbait. It was 30 plus points, right? It was 210 plus 30 plus an additional 1. So I got 241 on the USMLE Step 2, and I was able to feel really good about it. That might not be good for you, but hey, it was good for me. And I want to encourage you guys, if you guys are struggling with exams or even testing anxiety, I want to let you know, like, hey, I've been there and I'm going to succeed, and I succeeded. I went ahead and I only studied for 35 days and I was still able to pass and pass well. But if you're in the camp that, let's say, doesn't get a 200 even, let's say you get below a 210 or even below 200, then that's when I really want to highly encourage you, if you only have 5 weeks or 6 weeks to study, to really consider taking extra time. Taking extra time, whether it be 8 weeks or preferably 12 weeks, and mix it up a little bit. If you get less than 200, that probably means that your pre-dedicated period wasn't that strong and you need to revisit a lot of those concepts. So what I recommend for you, if you do get below a 200, is the following. 1, I want you to at least get 8 weeks of total dedicated period. 4 weeks will be dedicated towards mostly rewatching and relearning content, whether that be through Amboss, whether that be through online Med-Ed, watching videos, doing practice questions, doing a little bit of UWorld, and then the last 4 weeks, after taking your other diagnostic exam, just focus on crushing all of the USMLE questions, okay? I can't really tell you more about what to do if you score below a 200. I'm sure there's other videos out there, but if you want more information, just go ahead and email me. My email is right down below, or hit me up on my Instagram. Okay, now let's say that you did get a 210 plus, or you even got a 216, which is what I needed to consider to be passing, right? You are on your way to basically being able to do well on your USMLE Step 2 exam in just 5 weeks or 35 days. Again, the reason why I'm doing this video is to allow you guys to know that, wow, here's a student. He started with a pretty low practice exam, but he was able to, overcome it. He was able to overcome it in just a short amount of time. I'm gonna show you guys exactly how I studied and what resources I used. The process basically was, I would do my first practice exam. Based on that practice exam, I would identify my weaknesses. And then after I would identify my weaknesses, I would go ahead and I would do UWorld questions specifically on those poor areas of knowledge that I was learning. And then towards the end of my week, I would do all mixed practice questions. Every single practice question was in timed, untutored mode. Again, it was timed, not tutored mode. I'm gonna go ahead and put up just a little bit of my schedule just to let you guys know exactly how I did it and what basically I would do every single week. I took my first practice exam March 8th. March 8th, I took my first MBME. It was MBME 9, and I got a 210. And I would review that exam that same day. It was a full day, 8 to 5. Sunday, I would take completely off to rest. Monday, I went ahead and did immune system and blood lymphatic disorders for block 1 for 40 questions. I would do nervous systems for block 2 for 40 questions, and I would do block 3 for 40 questions, pregnancy and childbirth and peripartum. And then block 4, I would do mixed questions, 40 questions. And I would basically do that every single day. I would write them down, okay, what were my weak points on MBME 9? And I would write them all down, and I would do all those weak points, focusing on those weak points first. And I really encourage you guys to do that the same. It was all about doing UWorld questions, okay? If you don't have UWorld, this is the time to get it. You need to get UWorld. I've never heard of anyone that passed the USMLE Step 2 without doing UWorld. So you can see the rest of the week was pretty much the same, always ending at the end of the day with mixed questions. That's very important because that's how the exam is written, right? I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my daily workflow. So my daily workflow, I would wake up at 7 a.m. every single morning, have my coffee, read my Bible, and I would just pray about the day and what I need to do. And then by 8 o'clock, I would start my first block of UWorld questions. And I would do 4 blocks every single day, back to back to back to back, because that is how the USMLE Step 2 exam is going to be, okay? It's going to be back to back to back, untimed, and you have to get used to it. The first week was very, very tough. I'm not going to lie. It was very difficult for my brain to adjust because I only did 20 questions a day here and there right before this. But here it is. I'm doing 40, 40, 40, 40, and that's it. And I would have about 5-10 minutes in between each block to simulate the real exam, because that's how much time you'll have for a break on the real deal. By 12:30 or so, I would be done with my 4 blocks. And then from 12:30 to 1, I would have my lunch. And then from 1 to 2, I would do about an hour of Anki of all my incorrect questions. And then from 2 to 6, I would review my 4 blocks from the previous day. I would review my 4 blocks from the previous morning, And I would not spend more than an hour reviewing each block because of the fact that, mainly because I didn't have enough time. I needed to crank these practice questions out in a relatively good amount of time. So what I would do is I would really hyper focus on the ones like I would get wrong. I would look at the explanation, the entire explanation. I would look at the question that I thought was correct, but it was incorrect, why it was incorrect. Then I looked at the correct answer and why that was correct. And I would occasionally look at the other questions or the other answer choices and say, okay, this wasn't correct either because of X, Y, and Z. But for my right answers, I would basically look at the question stem, remember what it was talking about, look at my answer choice, notice I got the right answer, and then look at the summary at the very bottom. And the only reason why I would spend more time on these, if I ever did, was because if I were to get it wrong, or if I were to get it right because I had no idea and I just guessed, or I got it right for the wrong reason. And that was my day, every single day, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday I would have off. Monday I would take another practice exam, and I would take a practice exam every single week to make sure I am on track to doing well and reaching my goals. So here are some of the resources I used just to break it down and make it a little bit easier for you guys. Number 1, you gotta have UWorld. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You must have UWorld. Some people have Amboss, and if you are an Amboss person, all the power to you. Some people have definitely passed the USMLE Step 2 with only using Amboss, and that's great. But for me, I just personally like UWorld, so that's just me. Get UWorld or Amboss. They're both, I would say UWorld is a little bit better, but that's just my biased opinion. But for the most part, they're both pretty good. Resource number 2 is Anki, and the way I would utilize Anki was I would only utilize them for my incorrect questions. And I wouldn't make them for every single incorrect, because if I were to do that, I would have so many Anki questions or Anki cards that I wouldn't be able to stick with my timeline. Remember, my timeline for Anki was only 1 hour, so I would make sure, okay, if I get this question and put it on my Anki card, it better be a really good explanation and a really good reason, or if I keep getting it wrong, then that would make that an Anki card. So not every single incorrect was an Anki card. 3, MBMEs. I ended up taking about 5 or 6 MBMEs from the MBME website, and you must get these. I mean, I've never met somebody who's never done well on their USMLE, and has not used an MBME practice exam from the MBME website. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, I know it sucks having to pay even more money, and the exam itself costs $1,000, which is even more crazy. But I promise you, they're there for a reason. The same people that write them are the same people that are going to be testing you on test day, and it really opens up to your weak points. So do a practice exam every single week. Number 4, Divine Intervention Podcasts. Now, Divine has this way of like really knowing, like, holy crap, this guy knows like what's going to be on practice exams and even some on the real deal. And he really let me know a lot about like just ethics and just like all these random topics and points that they never really teach you in medical school and lecture, but they come up a lot during practice exams and even the real deal. So I would definitely encourage you guys to listen to Divine Intervention Podcasts. And sometimes if you want to like get away from that, just go to like a YouTube channel and just listen to podcast or to a YouTube video of your choice that you like and you actually learn from them. I would just go ahead and put these podcasts on 3 times a week, and I would listen to them while I was like exercising or driving, just to have fresh content in my brain coming in every single day, because we know every single day new information comes in, some information leaks out. That's just the way it is. Anki can help slow down the process, but it's not perfect, right? And I can't emphasize this enough. If you use too many resources, that can be non-productive. So I really encourage you. I only used really 4 resources and I did pretty well. So the less is more. So must know. Some of the things that you must know before going into your dedicated period is there are about 4,100 questions on the USMLE Step 2 CK Bank on UWorld. So that's 4,100 questions. I had to break these 4,100 questions up into smaller chunks. And I promise you, if you do 4 blocks per day in a row, you're going to build that stamina on game day, because I did. I felt that stamina. I didn't feel like I was fatigued. I didn't feel like I was like, oh my gosh, my brain's going to die. No, I didn't feel any of that because I practiced how I played. In fact, by week 3, I turned it up to 5 40-question blocks per day. That was 200 questions per day for 5 days. And if I can do it, you can do it. Your brain is capable of so many things if you just put your mind to it. You can do it. You can do 5 40-question blocks by week 3, because at that point, you're going to be practicing how you play every single time, and you're going to do well on USMLE Step 2. So I started my dedicated period March 8th with that practice exam, and I was done with the entire UWorld question bank by April 5th. So on April 5th, I finished the entire Q bank. Pretty much less than a month, I finished the entire Q bank, and that gave me about 2 weeks to do UWorld redo questions, to redo all of my incorrect questions, but also focus on other things like biostatistics and epidemiology, as well as ethics and quality control and drug advertisements. So these other things that you may not think about when it comes to only doing UWorld questions, they're going to ask about that on The Real Deal, I promise you. Because of the whole cheating scandal that happened about 2 or 3 years ago in the Middle East, we had to do a more comprehensive questions surrounding the ethics as well as the quality improvement and all that stuff. So it's actually really high yield to know on the USMLE Step 2. All right, you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly all of my scores that I got from day 1 of my dedicated period all the way up until my final exam. And that includes the free 120 on the MBME website. So here we go. All right, so as you can see, March 8th, I went ahead and took MBME 9, also known as the CCSSA, forgot what that stands for, and I got a 210, okay? So 1 week later, during that week, I focused on my weak areas. I did some mixed practice questions in there, and I did it untimed, 40 questions, 4 blocks per day, and I was just grinding. Okay, so yes, March 17th, I went ahead and took my MBME 10, and I got a 216. So I was like, sweet, I passed, I passed, and that's all I really needed to do. At this point, I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing is working, but I still have a long ways to go. So a week later, March 24th, I took the UWorld Self-Assessment 1, and I got 232. And just to let you guys know, UWorld self-assessments aren't really predictive. They're not like the most sensitive predictor of your exam. I used an Amboss tool. It's called the USMLE Score Predictor. I no longer have access to it for some reason, but I think my membership expired or something, but it's a pretty cool tool. I basically, on this tool, you plug in all of your shelf exams, all of your MBME exams, as well as your UWorld self-assessments, and it gives you a pretty accurate range. So I think for my range, it was anywhere from 235 to 240 to 235 to 245, and I ended up getting a 241 on my exam. So that's a side note. Use the USMLE Score Predictor on the Amboss website, and it's pretty accurate. So a week later, March 31st, I took the UWorld Self-Assessment 2, and I got a 226. So I was like, dang. But honestly, when these things happen, when you go from a high score to a low score, doing the same process, don't give up on that process. It was obviously working for the past 2 times. This just means that you have different areas of content that may be different for you. Don't freak out when you have just a small little dip. Focus on the areas that I was weakest in, and I would redo a practice exam the next week. So April 7th, I took MBME 11, and I got 226. I was like, okay, shoot, something's happening, but I'm going to trust the process, and I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. So April 10th, I took MBME 12, and I got a 234. So I was like, yes, thank you so much. So April 14th, here I am, 237. I'm like 4 days away from my actual exam. What should I do? My exam was on the Friday. I was thinking about taking Thursday off, but I was like, you know what? No, I need to do more of my incorrect UWorld questions, because I was doing more Amboss questions that were new to me, because I figured, okay, I'm done with UWorld. I need more new questions. I'm going to go ahead and do more new questions every single day from Amboss, because I still had that Q bank open to me. But what I realized, and I think that kind of helped me go from a 226 to 234, no, you have to go back to your UWorld. So I went back to UWorld. I stopped using Amboss completely, and I went back to UWorld, and I was able to go through all my incorrects, specifically childhood and peripartum, and all the other ones that I really need to focus on. And that's what helped me go from a 226 to a 234. So just kind of a side note, and I'm putting that out there. If I can do it all over again, I would basically not have touched Amboss, and I would have just went only to UWorld and did only UWorld practice exam questions even after I was done with my first pass. Specifically when I was done with my first pass, I would just stick with more UWorld, and doing it a second time. Because by the time that I took my exam, I was about 1.5 times done with UWorld. In other words, I was able to do all of UWorld plus 0.5 more, if that makes sense. So I did almost all my incorrects, but I still had a lot left on the table. So if any advice I could do from you that you guys can learn from me is, instead of going to a new question bank, just stick to the question bank that you did, even if you're done with it, and do all of your incorrect questions. Because I was thinking, well, I need new questions, but no, it was actually didn't work out for me that way. I thought I needed new questions, new content, new material, but in reality, I actually needed to stick back to my incorrects, because that's why they were incorrect, because you weren't able to identify what is wrong with these areas. So once I started doing more of the incorrect questions, I was able to get back on track. A day before the exam, I took my free 120 and I got a 70%, which basically there's some crazy Reddit calculator out there that you can put your raw score in and they'll give you a predictive score. And it was predictive score of 240, which is actually pretty accurate because I got 241 the next day. So that's it in a nutshell. I basically did all of the UWorld. I tried to do as many incorrects as I possibly could. I did Anki. I did all the practice exams that I possibly could. And then I took the free 120 and I did well. Basically, if you do all of UWorld, it's almost impossible. I don't want to give you any guarantees because I don't know that. But it's almost impossible for you to fail this exam. If you do all of your UWorld, even more impossible if you do all of your UWorld like twice or something. I don't think I've ever met somebody who did like all of the UWorld and then just didn't pass it. If you do all of the step 2 UWorld questions, you're pretty much set. But if you are trying to get into like neurosurgery or something like that, maybe you need like 3 or 4 times to go over that, and you need like 8 weeks to study for this exam to try to get like the 260s and the 270s. But for me personally, I'm going into family medicine. I want to be able to work with all type of population groups. And for me, family medicine is in dire need right now. And for me, I know that a 240 is more than enough for me to get into a good residency program. Talk a little bit about exam day, and then I'll be done with the video. So exam day, my exam was on April 18th on a Friday in Fresno. I live in Oakland. So what I did was on the day before, I went to a hotel, which was super ghetto. Holy crap. Did not think about it. But I'm thankful to have a place over my head. I went to the exam room. I went to the door where it's at, and it said Prometric right on top. Nobody was in there. I was kind of sketched out that it was actually shut down for a little bit, but you know, I had faith. So it was really important for me to know where the heck I'm going the very next morning, because my exam was on at 8 o'clock in the morning and I have to know exactly where I'm going. So that's number 1. I went to the Prometric Center where it's located in Fresno specifically. Number 2, I took my exam at the hotel room and I did my free 120 there. For the actual exam day, I went in there. They're going to ask you for your ID, your sheet. Make sure you bring your sheet out there. Which basically gives you your licensing. It's basically your licensing permit. Bring your physical licensing permit. Bring a government issued ID. For me, my driver's license worked just fine. And you're basically going to have a little cubby. They're going to give you a key. And you have 9 hours total from the moment that you clicked accept, do the exam. That timer is going to be running down. You're going to have a separate timer for a specific block. So there's 2 timers. One block for the entire time that you're able to take an exam in general, and then another mini, clock for that specific section that you're in. Again, there are 8 sections. Each section is about 40 questions per section. Some sections have 38 questions, and these are going to be the ones that have big articles. They're going to give you an article. There's going to be 3 vignettes associated with that article. And basically, I really encourage you to redo those practice exams, redo those practice questions on UWorld, because they're actually pretty similar. I took a break after every single block. So whether that be 5 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever, I didn't really set a timer. I basically was like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead after every single block. I'm going to go out, go to the bathroom. I would do some squats just to get me active and get the blood flowing. And I would take a sip of water and I would go back into the examination room. And I did that for the first 3 breaks. So break 1, break 2, break 3. At the 4th break, I would go ahead and do like 15 minutes to do my little sandwich that I had. So I prepackaged my lunch prior to going into the exam, and I would just be munching on snacks all day. I think I was eating like protein bars with like eggs in it for like good protein. So I highly encourage you to stay away from sugary, high glucose meals because you don't want to get that glucose spikes during game day. And I also encourage you to drink a lot of water. Not too much water because you don't want to be going to the bathroom taking an exam, but stay well hydrated. And for my lunch, I think I just had just an egg sandwich, and it worked out great. You know, it sat well in my stomach, and I was able to have a steady amount of energy throughout the entire day. One thing I didn't do was I didn't change my diet, right? Every single morning I was eating oatmeal. So what did I do before the morning of my exam? I ate some oatmeal. I took some oatmeal with me. I took my own little coffee maker with me. I wanted everything to be the exact same way as it was back home. So I had my own coffee maker, had my own coffee pot, I had my own little prepackaged meals. I had all my protein bars, just how it was on a regular day. So that's how I highly encourage you to do the same. During the exam, I felt that all the exam questions were fair. I didn't feel freaked out or panicked. Yes, of course, there's going to be questions where you don't know, and it's okay just to guess and hit C and move on, because there's going to be other questions that you will know, and you're going to need to have more time for those specific questions. But for the most part, I was able to, because I practiced how I played, go through all the questions just how I would on a regular day. You know, I didn't overthink it. I stuck with my gut, which I highly encourage you to do. Yes, there's going to be questions where you're like, shoot, if I would have only studied this small little thing, I would have gotten this free question. But no, there's going to be questions that you just don't know, or that you did know at some point and now you don't because it's been such a long time. It's okay. Don't freak out during the exam. Just trust the process. Just trust the amount of time that you put into studying for this. I studied for 35 days, okay? And that's about 10 hours, 11 hours per day. So I don't even know how much hours that is. All I know is that I put in so many hours studying for this exam that I'm not going to let fear overcome me now or doubt just because of some random question that I don't know. No, I'm going to stake my cool, stay cool, and move on. And that's how I encourage you guys to approach this exam. The exam is long, but trust me, if you practice how you play, the sections are going to go by just like that. And before you know it, you're going to be out of that testing room and you're going to receive your score and you're going to be like, done with it. And the best feeling in the world for me was that reaction video in the beginning of this video, where I opened it up and I said, thank you so much, Lord, for the fruit that I got from putting in so much working hours into this test. And I can see the fruit of my labor, essentially. So basically, if you do all of your world, if you study hard, play hard, if you do all these things, you're going to pass. Don't doubt yourself. You're going to pass, okay? So that's all I have for you guys in this video. I am so thankful that I was able to share with you guys exactly how I studied, what my scores were. What I want to do in this video is to let you guys know that not everyone who takes the USMLE Step 2 is going to get a 260, a 270, right? That's why the exam is as competitive as it is. But my purpose for this video is to let you guys know that if you underperform on your first diagnostic exam and you only have 5 weeks to take an exam, you can still do well. And I'll let you guys know once I'm applying for residency, and next year in March, I'll let you guys know, hey, I'm matching to a residency. I'll let you guys know, like, hey, it's possible. It's possible to get, a 240 plus and match to the residency of your choice. So I look forward to making that video for you in the future. But for right now, this will do. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My Instagram handle is going to be @JulianSoloTorres. @JulianSoloTorres. If you have any questions, that's probably the best way to get to me and to reach me. And if you have any other questions, just let me know. Shoot me an email at juliansoloriotorres@gmail.com. I'll be happy to respond and help out any way I can, because that's why I'm here. All right, you guys, that's all I have for you guys today. Just want to let you guys know that you are not average. You are a medical student. You are one of the top 1% of the US population that's going to become a doctor, so don't be too hard on yourself. If you are seeing all these YouTubers get like 260s, 270s, hey, I got 240 plus, I got 241, and I'm going to turn out just fine. So I want to encourage you guys, keep studying hard, keep loving your patients, and keep learning. Much love. Peace out.